So hello, everyone. My name is Arlene. Thank you for joining us today as we present the evaluation of our campaign for our client, See Beneath, a nonprofit organization. We will start by introducing ourselves and sharing the role we took on through the duration of our campaign, along with a brief background on our client before we get into the implementation and evaluation of our objectives. I myself took the role of an account executive. I was the main point of contact between our client and the team. I coordinated all account activity, and I also conducted social media outreach.
Hi, I'm Sonia. My role was Media Relations Coordinator. I oversaw drafting the media pitch and was in charge of sending out those pitches to our media contacts.
Hi, my name is Vivian. My role was the social media director, so that included duties such as developing our social media strategy, as well as designing and managing our social media content.
Hi, I'm Valerie. My role this semester for working with See Beneath was as social media coordinator as well as account manager. With that, I assisted in content creation and implementation, and I coordinated our bundle bag promotion on social media.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Chafee, and my role during our campaign was as a social media coordinator and content designer. I developed social media designs for both Facebook and Instagram, and designed and facilitated the bundle bag promotion and the budget. And now I'm going to pass it on to Arlene, and she's going to cover the background.
Thank you, Scott. So now a little bit of background about our client, See Beneath. See Beneath is a nonprofit organization that developed the Aiko and Igor animation for autism app. It's an educational app that was created for kids on the autism spectrum. This app is unique because not only is it research-based, but it takes on a social learning experience approach that encourages communication and reinforces relationships amongst the child and caregiver. And now Valerie will go ahead and give you an overview of See Beneath's target focus and lead us into our objectives.
Thank you, Arlene. For our problem statement, we found that there's a lack of visibility of See Beneath and their app amongst families affected by autism, educators within the industry, and autism organizations. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. And our target audience was parents and families affected by autism, educators, autism organizations, influencers, and media. So originally we had planned to end our implementation date by November 14th, but we extended that date by 2 weeks. And we did this because it led us through to the 28th of November. And we wanted to really gain more opportunity to connect and conduct research and outreach for See Beneath. So actually, could you go back, Arlene? Sorry. Our initial goal was to really receive responses from 3 autism organizations to promote the Aiko and Igor brand to their members by November 14th, 2020, but that date did change, as I said. Our strategy to do this was to reach out to autism organizations in the SoCal region. Some tactics that we utilized were to research like-minded partnerships, and we reached out to the local organizations, as I stated, and we promoted strong research within our background as we reached out. Some tools we used to do this too were email. We went through websites for each organization and utilized their social media opportunities as well. Continuing on, for our first objective, we reached out to various organizations. Some of these organizations included the Center for Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorders, which is based out of the UCI Irvine, the Play Project, Autism Consultants of Orange County, and the Regional Center of Orange County as well, just to name a few. Additionally, we drafted a pitch, as you can see right here on the slide, in order to begin our engagements in the implementation process. Our initial point of contact to these organizations was done the week of November 9th, and those follow-ups for those organizations were conducted the week of November 15th. During initial communication to these organizations, some of the only responses we received were actually automated proof of delivery from the organization's email. So that was a little unfortunate, but some organizations reached right back out to us, which was cool. For instance, the Regional Center of Orange County initially agreed to feature the Aiko and Igor bundle bag giveaway on their Facebook page, but unfortunately they had to retract because of a strict no promotion policy. So after the rejection, they gave us a contact to reach out to called Comfort Connection, who works directly with families and parents of children with autism in the community. So we passed along that contact to our client for future reference in promoting See Beneath. Moving on to our evaluation portion for this objective. So as for Facebook, our initial outreach began on November 14th and ended on November 23rd. We ultimately found that within Facebook, it was difficult to get into groups and engage due to the common rule of this no promotion policy we kept running into. So we didn't really receive as many replies as we initially hoped for. Also, unfortunately, we received no additional responses from the other groups that we reached out to either. We really feel like this was due to factors such as delays in replies, COVID-19, of course, strict group regulations, and limited admin interest in other nonprofit organizations. Therefore, our objective number 1 was deemed unsuccessful. However, on a positive note, I think it's fair to state that we did receive a response and success in connecting with a group called For the Love of Autism on Facebook. Their lead admin member took large interest in us, and that was really, really good for implementation. This particular engagement helped us increase awareness for the brand and encouraged participation from group members in our bundle bag giveaway. So now I will pass it along to Arlene for objective number 2 for you all.
Thank you, Valerie. So for objective 2 consisted of securing social media and/or blog recognition from 5 different parent influencers to create more awareness of ICO and Igor brand through reviews and mentions by November 28th. The implementation portion of this objective consisted of conducting social media outreach. We first created a media list. The first graphic to the right of the screen shows a layout we utilized, which includes name, IG handle, followers, and columns to keep track of outreach and follow-ups. Parent influencers were selected based off the demographics we were trying to reach, which in this case was parents and/or family members of children with children on the autism spectrum disorder or autism advocates. We then crafted a pitch that was tailored to our goal and objective and reached out to all of the influencers that were scouted. We also created a bundle bag promotion giveaway to generate buzz and engagement amongst our audience, while also using the bundle bag as an incentive for influencers to be more inclined to accept our request of featuring ICO and Igor on their page. As far as the evaluation, we did receive 1 response for the media outreach that we did. It was from Haley McGuire, as the professor mentioned earlier. We did have some trouble with the merchandise she received. Apparently, the autism community is having trouble with kids wearing their masks because they can't identify emotions. So she was very upset. We had to craft a response for her, and then, like Sonia mentioned, we handed it off to Casey, the founder, to take care of. And now for objective 3.
Okay, I'll be going over objective 3. It was to obtain media coverage from at least 1 media outlet pertaining to autism, education, or parenting. Our strategy was to pitch ICO and Igor to journalists that have covered relevant topics. The tactics we used were researching articles, creating a media audit, and drafting a media pitch. Onto the implementation portion. We started by creating a media audit, which consisted of researching articles that recently reported on the topics of education, children and students on the spectrum, and parenting. The list was made up of 21 media contacts among various outlets such as Very Well Family, Parentology, Spectrum News, Voice of San Diego, and San Diego Tribune. A pitch was then created for all the media outlets, then tailored to each recipient when sending out. The pitch highlighted the value and affordability of the ICO and Igor app during stay-at-home learning, and we made it a point of saying that it could be a timely piece to present to their readers at this time. The pitches were sent out on the week of November 9th, 2020, and follow-ups were sent the next week of November 15th. Lastly, for the evaluation, we waited until after the presidential election to do media outreach due to the climate and the focus of the news cycle. However, it's after doing follow-ups and receiving no response, it's apparent that unfortunately we did not achieve this objective. So I'll pass it on to Scott for objective 4.
Thank you, Sonia. For objective 4, our goal was to increase the number of subscribers by 5% for the ICO and Igor YouTube channel by November 14th, 2020. As aforementioned in our previous objectives, we had extended our deadline until the 28th of November. Our strategy was to promote See Beneath's upcoming puppet videos on Instagram and Facebook in order to divert traffic to the Aiko and Igor YouTube channel. Some of these tactics we had utilized included teasing previews of the upcoming public content, featuring links to their YouTube channel, and also releasing their annual fall fundraiser promotional video. Next, for the implementation stage, on the right-hand side, you can see examples of some of our posts encapsulating the puppets from See Beneath's new series. These posts were shared on both Instagram and Facebook. On the left, we can see a screenshot of their promotional video featuring their co-founder, Casey Hoffman, for their annual fall fundraiser. For the evaluation portion, we can look back and see that our client had a successful fundraiser campaign launch, as overall buzz and engagement increased after the video was posted. However, because we as a team did not receive the marketing materials for the puppet videos or the fall fundraiser until late in our campaign, our objective to increase subscribers was not reached. So now moving on to objective 5, our goal was to increase engagement by 5% on the Aiko and Igor Facebook page by November 14th. Our strategy was to promote discussion and unity on Facebook to improve our engagement ratio. Some tactics we used were to research common topics of interest among the autism community, develop insightful content, and then host the bundle bag giveaway on this platform. So next, for the implementation stage, on the right-hand side, we can see examples of posts we had created for the Facebook platform. And on the left, we can see how engagement spiked starting from November 14th when we started posting on the platform. In fact, one of the winners from our bundle bag promotion came from a Facebook group where she was required to tag 2 friends and like the original post on the Aiko and Igor page. So moving on to the evaluation portion, we can see that after we started posting on See Beneath's behalf, we saw a dramatic rise in engagement on Facebook, and overall, our objective was deemed successful. Next, I'm going to pass it on to Vivian to cover our last objective.
Thank you, Scott. So our last objective was focused on Instagram, which was to increase the amount of followers by 5% by November 28th. The main strategy that we used for this objective was creating a content calendar. So we drafted and published our content ideas, determined relevant hashtags to use with each post, and incorporated more interactive posts to engage our audience. The main tools we used were Canva for content creation and Instagram as a medium. So now onto the implementation. So on the right, we included a little snippet of our content calendar for you to see. We divided the content calendar by the date of the post content, and an image thumbnail. Looking down, we have examples of what kind of posts we made. We wanted to transition See Beneath from a kid-geared aesthetic, which is what they had before, to a more adult-friendly page, since that is the age group of our target audience. We also incorporated a day of the week idea in which different days basically had different post content. We wanted to include a variety of topics that our audience could relate to. And then on the left, we have examples of what Instagram's account insights look like, which leads us to the evaluation of this objective. So throughout the implementation stage, we kept track of how many likes our posts were getting and any increase in followers. Ultimately, we increased the follower count from 239 to 253, which was actually a 5.9% increase in followers. So from that, we would consider this objective a success. So now I'll take you through our timeline. As you can see on the left, we have our client meetings, our objectives, and our strategies. And then on the right, we have the month and weeks of our implementation stage, with the weeks divided by the first half and the second half. As you can see, we have our client meetings during the first half of each week, and we color-coded the timelines. So blue would be our proposed timeline, and then purple would be our actual timeline. The biggest thing to note is that since we did extend our implementation stage by 2 weeks, like Valerie said, our proposed timeline ends earlier than our actual timeline. On to the next slide, you can see our next 2 objectives. For the majority of these strategies, we actually ended up conducting them a little bit later than we had proposed. Something to note on this slide is that the last strategy for objective 4, we were actually not able to perform this due to a delay in content for YouTube. Moving on to the last 2 objectives on our timeline, we conducted almost all of these strategies in line with our proposed timeline. And again, our actual timeline extends out further than our proposed timeline due to the change in end date. So now I'll hand you off to Scott to talk about our budget.
Thank you, Vivian. At the beginning of our campaign, we had a proposed 106 hours amongst the 5 of us and a proposed budget of $360. At the end of our campaign, we had accumulated over 212 hours of actual work put in through our team, effectively doubling our original quota. As for our budget, we had a projected total of $200 for our bundle bag creation, and our actual came in relatively close at $195.79. We had anticipated the shipment of our bundle bags being much higher than it actually was at a projected $160, but the total came in at a mere $25. Our total budget came out to $220.79, undercutting our original budget by around 40%. Next, I'm going to pass it off to Sonia to cover the challenges.
Thanks, Scott. So I'm going over the challenges we experienced within each objective. As before mentioned, we initially had an end date of November 14th, but as we got closer to that date and experienced certain delays in content, we extended our date by 2 weeks to November 28th, and it also allowed us more time to do outreach. So looking at objective number 1, to reach out to organizations, it was challenging to have communication because there were organizations that just didn't respond back, period. Although we received proof of delivery emails, we weren't able to get through to a live representative. And when we had the regional center of OC initially agreed, it felt like a step in the right direction. However, they then retracted because of their no promo policy. And for objective 2, which was to secure social media mentions from 5 people across online platforms, we didn't get responses to our bundle bag offer. However, we were able to send to 1 micro influencer in the autism parenting community. But however, on December 6th, which was just this past Sunday, we received a message from this recipient about her concern with seeing the characters in face masks. The team became aware from our influencer that face masks are an issue within the autism community. It makes it difficult to read faces and can become extremely uncomfortable for people to wear at times. We listened to her concerns and immediately flagged this conversation and passed the information along to our point of contact, Casey, as well as including Professor Hagihara. We made suggestions on how to respond and received help from Professor as well. On to objective 3, it was difficult to find the right time to pitch since we were in the middle of the election news cycle and the unpredictability of the days that followed. And with the rise in COVID cases once again, it was hard to grasp the interest of writers. On to objective 4, which was to increase subscribers on YouTube by 5%. The goal was unfortunately not met because we faced some difficulties due to a delay in the Aiko and Igor puppet series videos that were due to go on there. Objective 5 pertained to increasing engagement on Facebook. The main strategy was to interact and engage with other Facebook groups. However, the Facebook groups dedicated to autism advocacy are tight-knit communities, so when we requested to join a few of the groups, our requests were denied. And finally, on to objective 6, which was to increase following on Instagram by 5%. We did achieve. We succeeded in increasing awareness of the brand through new messaging, content, and graphics. However, the challenges we faced in this objective were lack of response from influencers and not accounting for influencer rates in our budget. Some people only accept paid promotion at the time. Influencer marketing is a very big market right now. So lastly, I'll pass it on to Arlene for our lessons learned.
So for lessons learned throughout the campaign, we learned that it was necessary to conduct extensive research in order to scout the right influencers and reach the correct media. We also learned that we needed to focus on future events. That way we can plan accordingly so we don't run into any bumps in the road throughout the campaign. And with that being said, that concludes our presentation and we welcome any questions.